but you can only come out 3 times.
Okay.
You see David Byrne in car number 4 from Sholzburg, Wisconsin on his way out. He's been a winner here at Lucas Oil Raceway at Indianapolis.
Boy, you talk about Byrne, Pat. He had a tough season last year. He's just happy to see a new year on the calendar. The driver from Wisconsin, happy to be racing here in 2021. So again, for folks watching live on Flow, as Pat just explained, 30 minutes on track for the Silver Crown cars, hot laps, and qualifying. So your best lap here will determine where you start tonight's feature event.
I think describing David Byrne's season last year, I don't think you could say it in more awful terms. He had everything imaginable go wrong, and he's looking for better things this year.
So Swanson quick time here early on. That's Tanner Swanson with a 21.243. And then I'm going to go ahead and guess that that's Cody right behind him in second with a 21.727. Kyle O'Gara sitting third early on here, though. And then it looks like Austin Niemeyer has just been put down to fifth thanks to a good lap by Shane Cottle.
Well, O'Gara, as I mentioned earlier, has won a pavement sprint car event this year in Florida. He's been awfully good at the Anderson Speedway. Sarah Fisher, the racer, is his sister-in-law. Austin Niemeyer, 4th generation driver, Sylvania, Ohio, and the red and gold letter number 16 on course right now. Again, Tanner Swanson, Cody Swanson, Kyle Hamilton, a winner here at Lucas Oil Raceway at Indianapolis. In fact, helped his team to the Silver Crown entrant title. He also a former winner of the Little 500.
I'll tell you, Pat, I want to give you a quick pro tip here. When you're on Race Monitor looking for qualifying as it's underway here, yellow flag waves on the speedway, it's always good to switch over from the dirt oval section on Race Monitor to the paved oval, because that will help you find when we're on the pavement versus the dirt stuff. So yellow flags out here early. Trouble for the number 31 of Dave Berkemeyer. Berkemeyer getting pushed down the back straightaway. I'm sorry. 131.
Derek Bishak, a former Rookie of the Year in this series. He's also has a record. He was an outstanding runner at Rose-Hulman Institute. Has a couple of records still intact. Was an NCAA Division III academic All-American.
I think what happened there, Pat, was because we haven't even seen him come across on the timing line. So odds are he got fired off on pit lane, made his way around, and then the car stumbled and never came to a full start. So yellow flags waving to go out and get him on his out lap, which is why we go yellow. So now with it a little bit more quieter on the speedway, for those of you here who may not have heard, it's going to be a 30-minute session, which is obviously, the clock has already started. This will be hot laps and qualifying for the USAC Silver Crown cars, because we're obviously in the interest of getting through tonight's program as quickly as possible due to the earlier delays. So they're going to hot lap and take times for qualifying. And as Pat explained, they get to go out on track 3 different times. There is no time limit to each time you go out, but if you come in, go back out, come in, go back out, after you come in that 3rd time, you are not allowed to go back out on track.
There's former Rookie of the Year, Kyle Robbins, car number 7. That's a family operation. His dad, Kirk Robbins, turns the riches. Newcastle, Indiana, that machine and tool car.
You talk about Tanner Swanson there, Pat. Bowman Racing entry, TJ Forged with Bricker's Pub on the side of his beast with a Kistler Chevy. Bricker's Pub. That's a spot here in Brownsburg, Indiana. I don't imagine you've ever frequented that area, have you?
I don't live in Brownsburg, but I know it exists.
Yeah, exactly. You don't get your mail here, but you know where Brickers is. So the green flag is back out. Again, 5 minutes, about 5.5 minutes in to this 30-minute session for drivers to test, tune, figure out what the track, figure out what their car is doing. But they also need to be on it as the yellow flag comes back out almost immediately from Chief Starter Tom Hansing as we look around to see what the cause for the second yellow flag. Debris in turn one, the report. Joe, look at that. Getting the report. Turn one debris. Oh, yep, down there. So they're going to throw the yellow again here quickly. Early on in this one, Tanner Swanson. But it's going to be Kyle Hamilton sitting quick time early on in this 30-minute session, 21.226. Joel Miller with the assist on letting us know there's debris. Oh, and Jim Swintellis here also. It's a star-studded affair. Kyle Hamilton sitting on top of the time charts early here, though, but you're going to see these lap times drop very quickly. 21.226 for Hamilton in a combined hot lap and qualifying session. Kyle Hamilton, 34.660 last time by, but his quick time at 21.226. Tanner Swanson, a 21.243. Big brother Cody, a 21.419, so Cody not far off the pace. The throttle, Shane Cottle, your winner of round one last year. He's sitting fourth with a 21.643, and then Kyle O'Gara sitting P5. Green flag back in the air from Chief Starter Tom Hansing. So Kyle Hamilton sitting on top of the mountain, 21.226. The time to be here very early on. I haven't really seen too many cars duck back in. A few hit their pit stalls now as the yellow comes to an end. There's a good look at the number 2. Scored again as the 0-2. Kyle Hamilton, 21.226, waiting to see him come back around, see if he can improve. Tanner Swanson, Cody Swanson, Shane Cottle, and Kyle O'Gara. There goes Tanner Swanson down on the inside of Justin Grant. Grant, your series champion. We'll see if Justin's even laid down a lap time here early on. Yep, Grant's got one lap to his credit. It's a 23.2, but that's going to pick pace up here very quickly.
Now, one of the things that's interesting to watch here at Lucas Oil Raceway in Indianapolis is if the drivers approach the turns differently. They tend to go often very high in 3 and 4, and sometimes drift up there high in 1 and 2 as well. We got an eye on David Byrne, again, as Tony mentioned. A nightmarish season for the driver from Wisconsin last year. He's been outstanding also in wing sprint cars on the pavement. International Raceway, and he's been a winner here at Lucas Oil Raceway in Indianapolis.
Byrne looked really good on that last time by Pat. It was good enough to go P5, but Cody Swanson knocks him back down. But we've got a new driver, purple, on the timing charts. Quick time early on here belongs to Bobby Santos III. Maybe a little bit of oil coming off the right rear, down the back straightaway. They'll have to keep an eye on that, make sure nobody's putting anything down. We now ride along, if you're watching on Flow. Looks like the 33.
Yeah, that's
Nathan Bird.
It's Midget.
Oh. Picking up the 81 of Shane Cottle, that driver who scored the win at Selinsgrove last season.
You know, Shane Cottle did not make an appearance at Salem Speedway. It goes back exactly what we said. If Shane Cottle would have appeared in that race and posted a quality finish, we could easily be talking about Shane as the Silver Crown Series champion. That's the nature of the beast.
Cottle sitting 7th on the time charts here early on. Tanner Swanson, as we are just now about to the 10-minute mark, meaning 20 minutes left here in this combined hot lap and qualifying session for Fatheads Eyewear time trials. Tanner Swanson, P1 at 20.932. Bobby Santos III down to 2nd. Kyle Hamilton, though, just laid down his best lap, a 21.226.
Indeed, and we had the 94 of Brian Gerster, a gentleman who's won 2 national midget events at this racetrack. And Brian Gerster, he's a 2-time must-see extreme racing champion.
Justin Grant, your champion, sitting, your reigning champion, sitting 4th, and then Cody Swanson, P5. David Byrne, Shane Cottle, Kyle O'Gara, Taylor Ferns, and Eric Gordon. A little bit farther down, Austin Nienmeyer rolling down his best lap so far, 22.104. Kyle Robbins, Brian Gerster, Matt Goodnight. Goodnight, one of the many Silver Crown drivers who we had sitting around waiting through the rain yesterday at the Sumar Classic in Terre Haute. Good night 14th, and then Jim Anderson just laid down his best lap, Pat, a 22.420.
And Jim Anderson, a longtime midget standout up in the Joliet, Illinois area, made his initial Silver Crown start right here at this racetrack. He's done exceptionally well in his limited starts. His father was a longtime midget owner with the UMARA and URA up in the Illinois area. Great guy. Good friend Bill Guest turns the wrenches on that machine, and Jim Anderson, just an outstanding open wheel racer who got his opportunity in this series relatively late.
So it looks like back up at the top, Tanner Swanson, nobody's had anything for him so far. Lap time starting to get a little bit more settled in, I feel like, here, Pat, as we near the halfway point in this one. But I think the other thing to mention is not many of these guys have pulled in. Tanner Swanson working lap 12. Kyle Hamilton working lap 6. JG, Justin Grant, lap 7. David Byrne, lap 9. Shane Cottle, lap 12. So, as always, qualifying up front's good, but it's not that great because you don't need it here in a Silver Crown race. These guys that are out there for these long runs, they're figuring out how their car is going to change over the course of tonight's main event.
Right.
Qualifying again up front, it's great. Nothing wrong about it, but you really need to know how your car is going to handle as the race runs on.
Yeah, and different teams have different strategies. Some know, absolutely are sure, that they are not going to vie for the top spot. They know that coming in. They're working on race there right away. That guy, Kyle Hamilton, well, he may be wanting to think about the pole position. He's won here before. He's won the Little 500. He's won some pavement midget championships. He's with a good team with Brzezowski and, of course, Bobby's turning the wrenches on that number 6 machine, so he's a capable race driver.
Number 6 coming off turn number 4 here, Kyle Hamilton, the driver that Pat is talking about in that all-white number 6. Good thing that car's easy to spot because I think we're going to be talking about him a lot as the night wears on here. And for those of you watched on Flow, you know that this is not normal. For the folks in the grandstands, oh, trouble. Hamilton up in the wall big, going down the back straightaway into turns 3 and 4. So the yellow flag is going to wave. As soon as we talk about him, the entire right side of that number 6 caved in, as there's even fluid now starting to come out of that number 6, but he absolutely pancaked the wall right at turn in for turn 3. That is not how you want to start the season opener for the Silver Crown Series.
No, in fact, we mentioned a couple of years ago he was an important cog in that team with Dave Brzezowski winning the Silver Crown Entrance Championship, although Cody Swanson won the driver's title because they split time. Brady Bacon drove on the dirt and scored his very first Silver Crown victory in series history at Williams Grove Speedway. And Kyle Hamilton doesn't make many mistakes, so that's unusual, and you wonder what the chicken and the egg here is in that situation. He very easily may have had the mechanical before the wall contact.
I honestly, you never want to just err on one side or the other. The good news is Kyle up and out of the car already, but as you said, Pat, he makes so few mistakes. It's such a rare thing for him. You have to wonder, possibly perhaps the first time that car's been out this year, did something fail on it?
Yeah, he's got very talented people in his corner, and they certainly cross every T and dot every I. But that alone doesn't ensure that you're going to have a part failure.
No, it's not a comment at all on the preparation of the car. That team does a fantastic job. He doesn't win races if they don't. But again, people can do their job perfectly, and sometimes things still just go wrong.
In spite of what they say on the internet.
Yeah,
they
exactly.
True.
Yeah, exactly. So Kyle Hamilton, the driver of the number 6, who hails from Danville, Indiana, Clad Enterprises with Willwood Disc Brakes, Lucas Oil Brown, and Miller Racing Solutions on the side of his beast with a Ford power plant. Practice ends much too early for him.
Yeah, Terry Clad, a great guy. The owner of that particular machine has been involved with Bob East for a number of years. He's out of the state of Nebraska and has fielded open wheel teams for decades, literally, and that's been a nice partnership among them, and you can see the Kyle. But first of all, I want to say this about the safety team and doing exactly what they need to do in that situation is continue the conversation with Kyle in spite of the protestations that everything is okay. You need to put your own eyes and ears on the situation to make sure the driver's okay, and I suspect right now the number one thing that's hurt our feelings and just disappointment for Kyle.
So it sounds like the FloRacing broadcast crew's got an instant replay here for us. So if you're at the track, you're not going to really know what we're talking about. But if you're watching live on Flow, let's take a look at it. Left front lockup, brake failure, and the car goes right into the outside wall.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of smoke there going into that turn. Now, again, that's an action spot. They carry a lot of speed. into turn number 3. This is an interesting track. It's got kind of a step banking. It's an unusual track in that regard, and it makes it very different. And so you can see right there something was amiss before he made that contact.
Possibly steering broke, and he knew it as he began his turn into the corner, so he locked the car up trying to get it to slow down, but at the speeds these guys are rolling into the back straightaway, I mean, he absolutely pancakes that right side.
Right. So unlike a Winchester or a Salem, but we're getting another look at it for those of you watching on Flow, and that's pretty contact.
Yeah, that third time you see the car hits and then comes up off the ground and travels quite a few feet. That, again, just tells you the severity of the impact when he makes contact over there.
So a Salem or a Winchester, which are high banked, are foreboding just by virtue of that. But interestingly enough, this is a little bit of a trickier track with the step banking here. It takes a while for a driver to understand that.
The trouble is that car is heavily damaged, and with tonight already being so backed up on scheduling, it's unlikely, very unlikely, that they have a backup car, so the crew at Klatt is going to have to go to work immediately. The red flag has been displayed at the starter stand, so the session is paused effectively at 12 minutes and 50 seconds in. Race control and the staff here at Lucas Oil Raceway will now begin deliberations on if this session gets shortened at all or not, because, again, not typical of Silver Crown races. These drivers normally get hot lap sessions, maybe multiple hot lap sessions. Then they go out and do 2-lap single car qualifying. You take the average, just like at the Indy 500, and that determines the starting grid. Well, not tonight. This has been turned into a 30-minute hot lap / qualifying session. This throws a major wrench into those works.
Yep, well, and everything's unusual tonight as we're trying to deal with Mother Nature on that. Looks like Patrick Lawson had made his way out. Really great guy who, believe it or not, if we rolled back the clock 17 years ago, actually tried to start a NASCAR Truck Series event here at this racetrack. This racetrack was part of the inaugural season of the NASCAR Truck Series and the action-packed race cars 150 back in the days when you had a mandatory halfway stop. And in the early days, it was a very fun series to watch, part of our ultimately what became our Kroger Speed Fest here at this particular facility. Ron Hornaday and Mike Skinner and Jimmy Hensley and all those early racers and the High Plains drifter Rick Corelli certainly made their mark here. And Patrick Lawson tried to make his way in this series here. But this is a place, by the way, that in terms of NASCAR Truck Series may be the first place that Kyle Busch actually ran a NASCAR race. He ran exceptionally well. Then a decision was made that he was too young and had to put his NASCAR career a little bit on hiatus.
So work continues over right in the start of turn number 4 as they clean up. Kyle Hamilton's number 6, and again, just what a bummer. You never want to see absolutely anybody go up into the wall early in the night. You don't want to see him go up into the wall ever. But for a team and a driver that's been so successful at this track and with the Silver Crown Series, that is a bummer. The Lucas Oil Raceway response team doing a great job going to work cleaning up the fluid that was put down when the 6 car made that heavy contact, and they've got Kyle's car up on the hook. They'll bring it back in. Again, red flag conditions here, so the session effectively paused originally, going for 30 minutes. We'll see if race control decides to shorten that up. If they were to shorten it or even call it right here, Tanner Swanson would, again, this is a big if because we haven't heard from race control, but Tanner Swanson sits on top of the lap time so far here with a 20.932. Bobby Santos III is second, just about 6/100ths of a second behind. Incredibly close as they bring Kyle Hamilton's car down the front straightaway. It's Tanner Swanson, Bobby Santos, the number 6 right there, Kyle Hamilton third quick, Justin Grant and Cody Swanson the top 5.
Yeah, and if you had some knowledgeable fans that follow this series on a regular basis, and we asked them to predict the top 5 in an early practice / qualifying session, those are the 5 names most would put there. No
Absolutely.
surprise whatsoever. And David Byrne's been very good on the pavement. James Chewy Sandberg turning the wrenches on that particular machine. And as we've talked several times, he's just trying to, all race drivers need to have short memories. That's a great Levi Jones comment. You have to have a short memory. In this case, David has to have a short memory about a truncated but a real season that just nothing went right. It has to be better for him, and it starts now with a pretty good effort in the early going in the practice session here at Lucas Oil Raceway. There's the car on the hook. Obviously, Dave Brzezowski and Bob East will take a look at it and see what they can do for Kyle Hamilton. Again, a little 500 winner. He's a gentleman who's won the Rumble in Fort Wayne, the indoor midget race for Mellon Kenyon. He's won the Dave Steele Classic here. He's won the Auto Value Series. He was a Kenyon Car Midget Champion, Indiana Midget Champion. He won the so-called Adam Petty Cup at one point. So he's a very accomplished race driver, and the disappointment has to be palpable at this point.
So they'll take the number 6 back to the team trailer. Talk about drivers having a short memory. It's one of your favorite Levi Jones comments.
Yes.
His only comments to me are stop texting me. So you and I have very different relationships with USAC Series.
I text him too, and he just doesn't respond.
Yeah, well, I don't know what's worse, no reply or getting told to lose his number. But they'll set the 6 of Hamilton down right there. Matt McCarty with USAC safety right there, getting out of the side-by-side. He's there to make sure the car gets put down and is taken care of. I think that's Jason McDougall right there in the Dr. Pepper hoodie. McDougall.
Well, he's going to run for that team.
Yeah, on the dirt for Klatt. And McDougall, obviously, if you follow USAC Racing, you know the name, Jason McDougall.
Well, it's interestingly enough, and I think this is absolutely true. Now, I talked with Bob East when that decision was made, and I don't think it was 100% sealed, but I do think the performance at this year's Chili Bowl Nationals is one that got Bob East sitting up the seat, and he told me
had a lot to do with it.
He thought a lot about it, and he called Terry Klatt and says, I think I want to put this kid in the race car. Jason's also, as you know, Tony, he's very mechanically talented.
Yes.
Works a lot with Kevin Thomas Jr. And some of my good friends back in Oklahoma say he may like that at times just as much as he likes racing. So that's a good combination.
Yeah, McDougall, full-time crew on the number 9K for Kevin Thomas Jr. in the USAC Amsoil National Sprint Car Championship. So McDougall's one of those Renaissance kids, and I only call him a kid because a lot of times guys his age don't know how to drive and work on them. But I feel like in this kind of racing, Pat, in USAC and sprint car, in short track racing, it's the last real bastion, I guess, at the risk of getting overly dramatic, where drivers know how to work on their cars.
Yeah, most of them do, and they should.
They should. I agree with you 100%.
It really helps them understand their race car a whole lot better. McDougall has been racing a little bit locally in Michael Dutcher's sprint car. Opportunity for him to get out and stretch his legs on the dirt on the local scene, and it looks pretty good in that car. I talked with him briefly in Terre Haute at the Rain Down Sumar Classic and said he thinks he needs to kick it up another notch. But here's one of the many drivers we've had. It's been an interesting time in racing where suddenly many people have discovered Cycle Land Speedway in Red Bluff out in California. So many of the drivers have come through the midget ranks, have come through the outlaw karts, and have done exceptionally well. And in recent years, it's been Kyle Larson that's led that charge. Port City in Oklahoma has become that as well.
Wow.
And it's become a place where many drivers are starting to hone their skills. In Indiana, we have US 24 in Circus City in Peru, Indiana, who's starting to get that program together. But at Port City, Jason McDougall is somewhat of a legend. And it's really good to have him also in behind the wheel.
Just don't ask him about it because he won't talk to you.
No, he doesn't talk.
He doesn't talk. Folks, if you're watching live on Flow, once qualifying does wrap up, we want you to stay put because we've got a really cool feature about Armstrong Racing and their driver Eric Gordon, who are contesting what they've affectionately named the Indy Blitz, which is this week of Indy. Pat, their schedule originally saw them going to the Sumar Classic last night, after getting up to Anderson Speedway for qualifying, and then turning
backstretch wall. No problem with Andy in that particular race. But Eric Gordon won that event on just guts and sheer determination. He has been that throughout his USAC career. A one-time Silver Crown winner at the Milwaukee Mile. That's a great group. Tara is very much part of that team. She's always been. And, of course, her husband won at the High Banks in Winchester Sprint Car. You win in USAC on the High Banks in Winchester and Salem. You don't have to apologize to anybody for the rest of your life. That tells you you have nerves of steel. And Brad's a great guy.
Yeah, they both gave us a lot of time when we went out there and we filmed a really cool piece with them. So that's going to air live on Flow. And then if you're here at the track and you'd like to watch that, we're going to have that up on social media probably within the next night or two. And then also to fill time when USAC cars aren't on track for Flow subscribers, we're going to also re-air a piece that we shot at the Grant King Racing Shops.
Yes.
And that is even a little bit more prominent right now because the Grant King Racing family, I guess you could call it, formed Top Gun Racing.
That's right.
And even though they might have fallen short, they just wrapped up a great month of May at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And a lot of people don't know that Top Gun Racing, who had R.C. Enerson trying to go for the 500 this year, a part of that operation is owned by the Throckmortons, who are of the Grant King family lineage.
That's right. And Billy Throckmorton raced right here at Lucas Oil Raceway in Indianapolis. Stephanie, his wife, also raced sprint cars and for several years was an announcer at Gas City I-69 Speedway. So racing is very much in their blood, and they have really turned that into a showcase for Grant King, who was one of the great constructors of all time. So that's going to be a neat piece, Tony. They've done a nice job out there.
Yeah, that's going to air during the break, and actually I think I've already seen Stephanie walking around, so you better keep saying nice things about her.
I would be glad to.
Or she's going to come up here and kick our butts.
No, she's fantastic.
We've got a lot of features that we're going to play.
She might have raced a sprint car in South Africa at one point, believe it or not.
That's a big might. Can you confirm that?
If she's around, she will.
Okay. Yeah, so again, if you're watching on Flow, we're going to have some downtime tonight when the USAC Silver Crown and Midget cars are not on track, and we will have a lot of stuff to play for you, obviously commercials, because we have so many great partners here with the United States Auto Club that make things happen, and then we're also going to do our best if our wireless cameras work down in the infield, we have Drake York and Christy Bemis here, and they're going to do everything they can to run around and catch up with the drivers, the teams, and the all-around great people that populate the infield at USAC races. So if you're watching tonight on Flow, don't go anywhere. I have an ominous feeling it's going to be a long night, but again, it's going to be a long night of great racing here at Lucas Oil Raceway, as they have almost wrapped up the cleanup over in Turn 4 following Kyle Hamilton's incident. Sitting P3 on the time charts when a part fails and he goes up into the outside wall. Never a good time for that to happen, but sitting third quick in qualifying, a really bad time.
Yeah, no question about that. We'll see if we can get that, see what they can do. One of the great things, and by the way, you know, in terms of just history, we had a race at the Holman Classic that will be remembered for years. There's just simply no question about that. And one of the things that I do want to mention is, I know a lot of things happened in the pit area, but one of the things we also saw on the racetrack was when Brady Bacon vaulted the wall, we saw Nate McMillan, an outstanding local sprint car competitor, get out of his car and race to the wall and vault that fence to go check on the well-being of Brady Bacon. So likely what we have here, if there's any chance at all we can do anything with that 6 car, not only will that team be pouring on it, but expect other teams to go down there and see if they can lend a hand.
So it sounds like they are not going to shorten this. They're going to go to 17 minutes and 10 seconds remaining when the green flag does fly, because, I mean, in the interest of fairness, you can't just tell these teams and drivers, hey, that's it, it's over, your qualifying is done, because there were definitely teams and drivers that I think were in pit lane making adjustments or at least getting ready to pit when Kyle Hamilton's incident happened. So Spridge and the rest of USAC Race Control here are going to give these guys 17 minutes and 10 seconds when the green flag is displayed once again. Tom Hansing is our chief starter down in the flag stand, and everybody's going to get a chance to go after that quick time here. Tanner Swanson currently has it, 20.932, and Pat and I already talked about it, but the track record here tonight for the Silver Crown cars was set by the late great Jason Leffler back on May 20th in 2000, and it was a 20.2 20.298. That's the track record of 20.298. And you look at Tanner Swanson, 20.932. So close, but still a little bit of work to do.
You know, Jason Leffler, in many ways, was a young man who would not get out of Parnelli Jones's garage. They almost had to kick him out of there from time until they took him under his wing. He made really one of the big splashes early in his career when he was racing for Columbus's Pete Willoughby, who's now associate of Keith Coons. But I remember the first time he raced here in a midget, he went right between two race cars in the front straightaway, creating a spot that I didn't think exists. And that's when we knew that Leffler was something special. A former Silver Crown Series champion, a gentleman who won the Kroger 200 in NASCAR, then Busch Series competition, one we certainly think of often.
So Jason holds the track record here, and again, don't want to say it's going to stand, don't want to say it's going to fall, because that's why they run the race, and that's why they run the qualifying session. We'll see what these guys can do. Tanner Swanson sits on top. Bobby Santos, the third, currently second quick here with 17 minutes and 10 seconds to go in this combined hot lap and qualifying session. Kyle Hamilton, the driver who is the reason we're under the long red flag, was sitting third quick at the time with a lap of 21.226. Justin Grant, the reigning Silver Crown Series champion, fourth quick on the track of 21.406. And Cody Swanson sitting P5 as they begin to fire off cars here. There is a good bit of kitty litter over there in turns 3 and 4. So for just a moment, Pat, it's going to feel like these guys are back on dirt when they get over there to turn 4.
Yeah, it certainly is. We'll see how they can do.
So Tom Hansing has the yellow flag displayed, so the red flag conditions have been lifted, which I do believe means the clock should begin ticking again here. 17 minutes, 10 seconds are what these drivers and teams are going to have. We'll see if anybody has anything for last year's winner of the Carb Night Classic, Tanner Swanson. Again, top time, 20.932.
See Kyle Garrett coming by in car number 1, and just a reminder that we mentioned that he won a preliminary event in this year at Showtime Speedway and the Dave Spiel non-wing World Championship event on the pavement down in the state of Florida. He was fourth in last year's little 500. There is the gentleman, his father, a longtime crew chief at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He's Sarah Fisher's brother-in-law, part of the O'Gara family. Good to see him with us. Outstanding pavement racer.
He's also the VP of Operations at Speedway Indoor Karting.
Oh, absolutely.
Right here in Speedway, and I know there's a ton of people in this crowd who head over to Speedway, Indiana, and go do the indoor kart track. Right there, we've got one right in front of us, and Kyle O'Gara, who's out there on track tonight, he's the VP, which I understand is short for Vice President, which sounds very important, of Operations at SIK in Speedway, Indiana. They actually just opened up their second location down in Daytona Beach, Florida.
That's right.
So they're in these towns that have these big famous racetracks. It's like they're on to something.
The USAC Benevolent Foundation used to have a fundraiser at Stefan Johansson's karting center, and they would put us with teams. And once I got the wise idea that I should follow sprint car driver Justin Marvel, I thought if I follow his line, I'll be in good shape.
On the indoor track?
Yeah, that was a good thought until I was airborne.
Yeah.
And then I remembered that I was an announcer.
What did you tell me at Terre Haute on Wednesday, Pat? There's a reason some of us race and some of us announce.
And yes, and Brady Bacon just put that in bold relief, capital.
Man, you're not kidding. Wednesday night was such a good time out at the action track at Terre Haute. Really bummed out that we couldn't get the Sumar Classic in, but we're going to kick things off right here, as I do believe that is Mr. Matt Goodnight.
It is.
In the number 39, making his way around. He was a guy we talked to last night. Goodnight coming out of Winchester, Indiana. Owns his own team, has pallet builders, Bennick Enterprises, and Simpson Race Products on the side. And he drives a Maxim with a Claxton Chevy, putting the horsepower down to the ground.
Yeah, had a 9th position finish at Sealands Grove last year, 10th at the Hoosier 100. 32 career starts for Matt Goodnight with 8 top 10s. Scott Bennick has turned the wrenches for his team for a number of years. Does a great job for him.
Looks like the number 1 of Kyle O'Gara, the driver from Beech Grove, Indiana, who we were just talking about. He rolls down into turn number 1. O'Gara Racing for SFHR Development. He's got Big Red Liquors and Speedway Indoor Karting. No surprise there, helping him out, get down the road. Yeah. KRJ Products on the side of his beast with a Neyland Chevy.
He's made 4 Silver Crown starts. His best is 7th last year at the High Bank Salem Speedway. That's Brian Gossel for Fort Collins, Colorado, out of the 06 machine, by the way. He was last year's Rookie of the Year.
Also on the flow monitor, if you're home watching, you see the 24 Mike Hagenbottom from Levittown, Pennsylvania. He's got Belmont's Garage Robinson Racing products on the side of his Maxim. And the engine, oh, this is a mouthful. It's a PME SP2 Chevrolet. So don't get that wrong. It's a PME SP2 Chevy, and that's the white car with the blue roll cage rolling through turns 3 right now, and then behind him I think that's the 11, I do believe, of Nathan Bird, Rookie of the Year candidate from Goodyear, Arizona, driving for Hamilton Bird Racing. They've got Bird on the side, America's Best Value In, and Signing Day Sports, Nathan Bird, the young man from Goodyear, Arizona, in that red and black number 11, coming across the start-finish line.
Yeah, he's been racing a Lucas Oil Formula development, kind of a driver school situation. He's also been taken under the wing by Todd Bertrand to run midget races under the Neiman banner. Hagenbottom, by the way, a former URC sprint car champion, a 5-time tri-state sprint car champion, running the 305 sprint cars back in his native state.
And it's also important to mention, Pat, that Nathan Bird of the Bird family, they have fielded 22 entries in the Indianapolis 500 dating back to 1985. James Davison, along with many others, have raced for him in NASCAR, in IndyCar, and obviously the Bird family, Brian Clausen, a great relationship there.
Yeah, they got Rich Vogler to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, for which we're forever grateful. Now Nathan Bird's in the Lucas Oil Formula Car Series. He's done a little bit of radical focus racing. He's ran the Spears Modified Tour, skipped Barber School. He was 4th in Neiman points thus far in 2021 racing for Bertrand Motorsports.
David Byrne comes across the line as the green flag is back out here, and we work our way through this qualifying and hot lap session. That black and red number 55 that you watch on your monitor going down the back straightaway has Nathan Bird rolling up right behind him. That black and red number 55. Taylor Ferns, the young lady from Shelby Township, Michigan. Sam Bernstein Law Firm on the side, and got Beast and Stan Mopar. Probably a good idea to have a law firm sponsoring you, just in case you get into any fender benders. You know you're protected out on track.
Well, she's another one who's graduated magna cum laude at Grand Valley State University in the state of Michigan. She ran the Kenyon Midget Series. She's ran in ARCA, and she was the 2011 Indianapolis Speedrome champ. She ran Kenyon Midgets and Bandoleros, was taken out of the wing at one point by Lynn St. James. She's been at this game for a number of years, as Taylor Ferns.
David Byrne lays down his best lap of the session so far. The driver from Wisconsin goes.
On pit road at Lucas Oil Raceway for the Carb Night Classic. He's just saw kind of get into the wall over here in qualifying. Kyle, what exactly happened with the 6 car out there?
Yeah, the car just continued carrying speed into the corner, trying to figure out what happened. I don't want to speculate. My team built really good cars, and they always put me in a good position and safe cars. So we're just trying to figure out exactly what it was, but definitely just continued carrying speed into the turn. And there's no way you could gather it up.
Well, certainly glad to see he's okay. That's Kyle Hamilton. We will send him back up top.
Getting an update on the driver that was involved in that hard hit over in turns 3 and 4. He is up, out of the car, and okay. Thanks a bunch to Christy for getting over there and finding out what exactly was going on. So the report, Pat, from Christy was, Kyle told Christy that they really don't know what happened to the car. It just never stopped carrying speed. It wasn't a steering failure, as I suspected. It wasn't even a brake failure. He slammed on those brakes and tried to get the left front to stop because the car just never slowed down. So the report on Kyle Hamilton, an ominous one.
I'd like to have a heart monitor on him at that particular time. That wall just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. By the way, Eric Gordon, one of the great veterans we've talked about, 141 career series starts for Eric Gordon.
And again, we've got a feature coming up that we're going to play on them as they get ready to set their sights on the Little 500 after tonight is over, and they make that drive back up to Anderson, Indiana for a very long night of racing tomorrow evening. Rolling across the start-finish line, that looks like the black, purple, and blue machine. I don't even have to see the number. That's Bobby Santos, the third on track. He's another guy that's going to be at the Little 500. Bobby Santos out on track in the number 22, hails from Franklin, Massachusetts, driving for DJ Racing. Racing with Brown and Miller Racing Solutions, as well as Simpson Race Products on the side of his Beast chassis with a Speedway Chevy, and they've got that thing tuned up pretty well right now.
Well, he's a 10-time series winner and 57 career starts. He'll go in to the Little 500 as the defending winner of that event. You talk about consistency. He has 35 top fives and 57 career starts. That's how good Bobby Santos III is.
And he's sitting second on the time charts here, past the halfway point in this qualifying session. There's the driver we've been talking about, Eric Gordon, that big yellow number 99. Yet the number's not hard to miss, Pat, and Eric Gordon's not a hard guy to miss. He'll scare you a little bit.
He is a hard-nosed guy.
He very well put.
As a longtime construction supervisor, he once told me I have to be a tough guy to deal with the crews that I do. Again, he is a driver. He did not come from means. He's worked hard for everything he's ever got in this sport. That, in fact, he ran here at Indianapolis Raceway Park in a NASCAR machine. He was one of the first ever to think about going in the Southeast in recent years from the USAC ranks, and it just never worked out for him. In fact, he once told me the biggest mistake he made was he should have just packed up and gone down to the Southeast and stayed and slugged it out. Instead, he tried to do both. And many people feel, honestly, Tony, that one thing that hurt Eric Gordon in his career at Quest to go to NASCAR is that there was another driver named Gordon who came along at the same time.
Another graduate of the Big Z quarter midget track. Yeah. He and Jeff Gordon spent a lot of time racing together, and Brad Armstrong, his team owner, will mention it in the feature, but Gordon and Eric Gordon and Jeff Gordon, no relation we should mention, were both rookies at the same time, and Jeff Gordon actually lost out on Rookie of the Year honors to Eric.
Eric was awfully good. Second, the bridesmaid several times in his career.
While all this has been going on, Tanner Swanson has actually improved his lap time, Pat. Tanner goes a little bit quicker. He was a 20.9. He is now a 20.714. Tanner Swanson, your quickest car on track as we ride along now on FloRacing with the number 18. That's Travis Wellpott from Pendleton, Indiana. He's got EGR, Smith Family Farms, Advance, and Skip Payne Consulting on the side of his Beast chassis with a J&D Chevy. That's a really sharp car. I like the old school number, the drop shadow on it. You can see it, and you know where he is at all times.
Yeah, and he's carried those colors for a long, long time. Travis Wellpott is a school teacher by trade. His father is a school principal. He was a UMRATQ champion about in the 1994 season. He was also a Neymar's midget champion in his career and has been in this series for a long time. Travis Wellpott, great guy from a great racing family.
I do believe now we're riding along with the 222 of Logan Seavey, the young man from Sutter, California. Driving for Rice Motorsports with Fatheads Eyewear. Yeah, that's the dead giveaway, the massive Fatheads Eyewear sticker. Logan has a great relationship with Rico and the folks over at Fatheads Eyewear. Steeda.com and Lucas Oil on the side. It's a Foxco chassis with a Foxco Chevy.
Well, I guess someone could have a bad relationship with Rico, but I don't know how. He's always a happy guy. And with Logan's CV, he's got a guy who's been a Neymar's, a Power Eye and a USAC National Midget Champion, and pretty darn good in a sprint car as well. Has really found his groove in that Baldwin Brothers number 5 machine, a recent winner in sprint car competition at Lincoln Park Speedway and Kokomo.
Rolling down here into turn number 1, we saw Matt Goodnight for a little while. We pick up again Kyle O'Gara in that Big Red Liquors sponsored number 1, and Speedway Indoor Karting on the side as well. Logan Seavey, Pat talked about it. He's a national champion with the USAC NOS Energy Drink Midgets. Got that done back in 2018. Logan Seavey driving for Keith Coons Motorsports with Curb Agajanian, locked up that National Midget Championship. And ever since then, he certainly, I don't want to say has fallen on hard times, Pat, but he's just been hustling and finding the right fit.
Trying to find the right situation. There's no question about that. By the way, some interesting action on the scoring queue. First of all, Jim Anderson, who I just admire greatly because this is a driver who racing in this series he feels is a pinnacle of his career. Jim Anderson, car number 92, has moved to the 4th position, and you blink your eyes and there is the defending series champion Justin Grant, and he's moved up nicely as well.
Yeah, absolutely. JG Justin Grant sitting 3rd quick with a lap time of 21. .115. The driver from Ione, California, who last year earned the Silver Crown Series championship, and to some people's surprise, Pat, as long as Justin's been racing and as good of a driver as he is and as well-rounded as he is, as the yellow flag comes out, Grant's Silver Crown championship last year was his first USAC national title, and he's running the Triple Crown this year. He's going to contest the full Silver Crown Series. He's going to contest the full NOS Energy Drink National Midget Series, and then he's going to contest the entire AMSOIL National Sprint Car Series. Looks like the 31 of Berkheimer down there right past pit out, and he was actually the car that brought out the first yellow flag of the night just a few minutes into this session, and trouble with that car getting fired off.
Yeah, David Berkheimer, a guy who's actually driven enduro cars and won at Williams Grove Speedway, but he's a Super Sportsman Series vet, and that was a series that was particularly very popular in Silver Springs Speedway in Pennsylvania, the now shuttered Silver Springs Speedway, although they still race them at places like we've been, Tony, Path Valley Speedway, a place where Carmen Perigo, who we see in this series, has been so very good.
And I want to take that back. I got my numbers mixed up. It was actually the 131 of Derek Bishak who was the cause for our first yellow, so I want to take that back. It's It's in fact not the 31 of David Berkheimer. This issue for him, a first time during the session. I don't want to place blame somewhere that it doesn't belong, certainly. Rolling down here, just a few minutes left in this hot laps / qualifying session. Looks like the 40 right there of David Byrne. Making his way down the back straightaway. Byrne currently sitting 5th on the time charts, 21.183. Jim Anderson, who Pat just talked about, a 21.149. Anderson's best lap puts him 4th on the board. Reigning series champion Justin Grant is 3rd. Bobby Santos, the 3rd, is 2nd. And they're all trying to run down the winningest driver here at Lucas Oil Raceway with the United States Auto Club. Tanner Swanson, 6 wins, correct?
In Silver Crown competition,
In Silver Crown competition, Tanner Swanson is a tough man to beat here at Lucas Oil Raceway. Fatheads Eyewear stepping up with $100 to the Quick Time Award winner in every single Silver Crown Sprint Car and NOS Energy Drink Midget race this year. Right now, with just a few minutes to go, Tanner Swanson trying to get that extra $100 in his pocket. But Bobby Santos, the 3rd, Pat, as we ride with him now on Flow, digging very hard to get that top time.
Absolutely. And Jim Anderson, we mentioned, the 3-time Stars Midget champion, former USAC D1 regional champion, has posted his best time, although it's 4th overall. He made his debut in this series in 2018 right here, then finished in the 8th position.
Shane Cottle with a big lap. The throttle goes 21.189. Shane Cottle, the driver from Kansas, Illinois, good enough for 6th quick. Everybody's starting to find pace right here, Pat. Bobby Santos just laid down his best lap, a 20.831. David Byrne's best lap, a 21.111. And then Jim Anderson's best lap, a 21.149. Yellow flags out on the speedway, and I do believe...
Oh, it's Tanner.
That's Tanner Swanson stopped up against the wall in turn 2. This is not the qualifying session you want to be quick in for some reason, because Tanner Swanson up with trouble, as we'd seen happen to Kyle Hamilton, who had trouble while he was sitting P3.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see exactly what the situation is with Tanner. Of course, he's laid down a good time.
You can see the front wheels, Pat, they're skewed all the way to the right. But it doesn't, I mean, of course, we can't see the right side of the car, but yeah, I think you can see a small streak along the sign right there along the outside of turns 1 and 2. So safety crew's already talking to Tanner. He's trying to determine if he can even drive the car back or not after receiving a push. I think he's going to go to work at getting out of that car. Yeah. Scanning for debris here in turns 1 and 2. So it sounds like from our top cameraman, Dean Mills, that while he didn't have a look at it, he heard the two of Tanner Swanson get up in the wall. And I think that's what he's showing us right now on the flow monitor, is those scrapes and bumps along the outside wall that, of course, stops right where Tanner Swanson's car is. So it sounds like maybe a long ride around the outside wall here for Swanson.
Again, how much damage? I mean, that's what will be assessed in that pit area. Again, he'll have time. We obviously have other activities to go before we drop the green flag on the Carb Night Classic for the USAC Silver Crown Champ Car Series. So if it's a variety of bolt-on stuff, etc., you know, they could probably get that done. Does that cause any problems come race time? Well, it depends. The racer has to have confidence in the machine, so we'll have to wait and see on that. So Tanner Swanson's been the quickest. Bobby Santos the third, the 22. David Byrne the 40. Justin Grant the 91. Jim Anderson fifth, the 92. Then Shane Cottle doing a great job, the 81. Kyle Hamilton still has the sixth fastest time. Cody Swanson work to do. He's eighth fastest. Travis Wellpott ninth, and Kyle Robbins right now rounds out your top 10 in that Magnum Machine number 7 car.
And then once this qualifying session wraps up for the USAC Silver Crown Series, it's going to go straight in to the Pavement Midget Series. Again, it's important to mention that these are not the racers you would normally see. Some of them are, but this is not going to be a stop on the USAC NOS Energy Drink National Midget Championship. In other words, tonight doesn't count towards the national title fight,
nope.
But it's still going to be a whole lot of fun to watch.
Special event, and just like we had last year, the two events we staged here with open wheel cars that we normally associate with USAC are special events. We want to thank Brown's Oil Service, the official Indianapolis area Sunoco distributor. They're the primary sponsor of the midgets for this particular appearance. So Matt Goodnine's out there snaking around his pallet builder's number 39. We've seen Matt a few times this year in USAC sprint car competition as well. And it looks like they're going to have to put him on the hook and bring him back in. So there'll be a lot of interested onlookers to that. And maybe Christy or someone can get a picture of him.
Great shot right there from our infield camera guy, Mitch Berkeley, who I think turned 16 just 2 days ago, as he's down there positioned in turn 2. And he's showing us a good shot of that right side. You can tell scuff marks on the right front Hoosier tire. Almost nothing on the right rear Hoosier, though, Pat. So the contact looks, I don't want to say minimal, but you really don't see a ton of damage.
The problem with wall contact at a racetrack like this is a little bit like minor surgery. Minor surgery is minor only because it's happening to somebody else.
There you go.
And in that particular case,
there you go.
We'll just have to wait and see.
There you go. I like that a lot. Minor surgery, minor wall contact, if it happens to someone other than you. Yeah, you can tell that he was going out on a fresh run. As Richie Murray points out, there are still stickers on those Hoosier tires. So they were going out there trying to lay down an even better lap time.
Right, because they were aware that, in fact, as you can tell, in the last moments of this event, of the drivers in the top 6, 4 of them at least had posted their best time in their last lap.
Yeah, so everybody was getting much quicker here. Bobby Santos went green. David Byrne went green. As the track goes green, we have just under 5 minutes of track time left here for the Silver Crown cars to hot lap / qualify as drama unfolds here for provisional pole sitter Tanner Swanson. He is suspended high in the air on the back of that tow truck, so we will see if Santos, Byrne, Grant, Anderson, Cottle, or anybody else in this field has anything for now a stationary Tanner Swanson.
That looks like Taylor Ferns is right now on your screen. The Michigander is out there putting some laps down. She's done a lot of open wheel racing in her career, even though she's still a very young woman. I mentioned I announced at Chicagoland Speedway NASCAR event, and if I remember correctly, Lynn St. James actually brought her to the booth to do a quick interview. So we'll keep an eye on Tanner.
That's the 77 of Tanner's brother, Cody. We watch him now on FloRacing if you're at home watching live. Cody making his way down through 3 and 4 across the start-finish line. Another lap in the books here. Not a whole lot of time left to go here. Justin Grant gets way up by the wall in turns 1 and 2. That car's just been darty, it seems like, all qualifying session, Pat.
Well, it's interesting. We'll just see how it works out. I mean, there's that old saying, of course, that loose is fast, and that may be true, but it's not good to be loose in a Silver Crown car because of tire wear. And that becomes critical in racing, maybe not necessarily in qualifying, but looks like Justin might be peeling off right here, so he may be feeling exactly what you are. Taylor Ferns has turned her best lap, but she's moved, at least for a moment, she was in the top 10, and she's right still there at 21.309.
Coming up on just 2 minutes left here in qualifying. We ride along now with the number 55. Coming off of turn 4 across the start-finish line, Taylor Ferns, as Pat talks about her, and then Logan Seavey in the triple-double deuce, as Chris Wheeler would have said. 222, the number on the tail tank of Logan Seavey's Rice Motorsports entry.
Nathan Bird's out there as well. He's going to do some super late model racing for Rick Ware this year. He's got a really diverse portfolio of races to try to move his career forward. He's out there at car number 11.
Cody Swanson has just gone to the nearly the top of the time charts. Cody Swanson P2, 20.821. What about Justin Grant, the defending series champion? There he is, making his way down the back straightaway. He sits fifth, 21.115. Let's see if this is a flyer here, Pat. Can he move out of the fifth position here? 21.115. Last time by for Grant at the line. Does he improve?
Nope.
No.
This is pretty typical Cody Swanson, though. He sometimes will throw, Cody Swanson's one of the nicest, calmest, courteous human beings ever. But when he puts on the helmet, he's an assassin. And he's not afraid to throw that psychological dart right in the bullseye in the late stages of one of these practice sessions. He and his brother have an exceptionally close relationship. But that doesn't mean he doesn't want to beat him. He most certainly does, particularly given that Tanner got the last one.
Justin Grant trying to change something here in the closing laps. The white flag's going to fly. Grant's got one more shot at it here. This time by, he's going to start his final timed lap. Grant sitting P5, and again for the third lap in a row, he will not improve. We will see if he takes advantage of this white flag and decides to run the session all the way down to Tom Hansing's checkered flag, and he elects not to. He will peel off down the back straightaway. So unofficially, that does end Fatheads Eyewear qualifying, which also served as a hot lap session for these Silver Crown drivers. And despite getting into the wall late in the session, last year's winner of this event, the 02 of Tanner Swanson, will get out of this session with a slightly damaged race car and the Fatheads Eyewear quick time with a lap of 20.714.
Yeah, and right now he's still suspended from the hook of that tow truck. Looks like they're about ready to gently bring it back down to earth, and we'll see if there's any opportunity to get that thing squared away. As you can see on Flow, there's your fast qualifiers.
Big brother Cody Swanson, 1/10 of a second off the quick time. Tanner gets pole. Cody Swanson, P2 with a lap of 20.821. Bobby Santos, the third quick. David Byrne, fourth. Great rebound for him after the year we talked about he had. And then your defending series champion, Pat, Justin Grant, sits fifth with a lap of 21.115.
Yeah, big moment for David Byrne with James Chewy Sandberg turning the wrenches on that. And we know it's been a difficult time for Chewy because of the loss of the great Steve Stapp. His Susanna, his partner, his father, big loss to our series. And last year, again, was just a nightmare, and this is certainly going to make things a little bit better.
I got to say, Pat, this crowd out here right in front of us
unbelievable.
Is looking really solid. Folks, from all of us at USAC, we sure are happy you are here tonight at Lucas Oil Raceway. As if you're watching on Flow, you can see the number 2 of Tanner Swanson still just now has been set down on the pavement in the pit area. So they're going to have a very short turnaround time to get that car ready to go. It's going to feel short at least. Midgets are going to get to go out and hot lap and qualify. Then the Road to Indy cars are going to go out on track. Opening ceremonies will be in the middle of all that. But they're going to go main event racing here before too long. And Swanson, just like Kyle Hamilton, have repairs to make.
They do, and this always tests the mettle of a particular race team. And as we saw at the Holman Classic, I thought there were a couple of events last year. I've mentioned this before during the 2020 USAC Amsoil National Sprint Car Series that were telltales signs of a team that was ready to be in victory lane and ultimately win a championship. And that was the work that Brady Bacon's team did at Plymouth Speedway in Indiana and also at Knoxville with the Corn Belt Nationals. They were ready when that incident occurred with Brady Bacon at the Holman Classic and ultimately had a car to get out there and put him back into action. These are the moments when you certainly hope you have all the right spares and the ability to get it done in the time allotted. Have to be a little bit of controlled but calm chaos to thrash on that car and get it done. But if it is just largely bolt-on kind of things, I would think they would have a chance to get that done.
Speaking of that great crowd that we've got here in the front stretch grandstands at Lucas Oil Raceway, sure are happy to see all of you folks. Hey, I see some folks right over here just beneath us. They've got those bright orange, brand new NOS Energy Drink Midget Tour sweatshirts on. You can't miss them. Why would you want to? We've got those and a whole lot more available for purchase at the USAC merchandise trailer. And if you're watching live on Flow, you too can dress as sharply as these folks.
Those guys look good.
They look great.